Broadcasting live from the True Crime Today studios to the world. This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
From the Hit Killers podcast, Murder in the Morning.
Suitcase murderer trial. It's underway. Sarah Boone accused of murdering her boyfriend, Jorge Torres, by leaving him in a suitcase. It's continuing. She's been on the stand. We'll have some audio of that for you tomorrow. We're going to be taking a listen to some of the testimony today of a forensic examiner talking about some of the phone calls and such. Boone, whose defense attorney James Owens has raised battered spouse syndrome as a defense, is facing a barrage of damaging evidence, including videos and text messages that the prosecution says does in fact prove her guilt. Let's take a listen to this.
It's an instant message that indicates it's outgoing from this device on January 13th, 2020, 5:01 p.m., 41 seconds, and it's from what is paren owner. Does that mean it's from the device?
Yes.
What's the content of that text message?
Sorry, what was the line item number?
17167.
And bless you and all of you too. I'll get rid of him.
Then the next three are also outgoing messages. What do they indicate as far as content?
Starting with 17168, then I'll be better, followed by 17169, ugh, and 17170, Torres.
In a dramatic presentation, jurors watched footage found on Boone's phone that captured Torres begging to be released from the suitcase. Prosecutors argue that this video, along with others, is crucial to the case. In the video, Torres is heard pleading for his life, saying, "Sarah, I can't breathe. Let me out." Boone can be heard laughing and taunting him, allegedly ignoring his desperate cries. Prosecutors claim Boone then went to bed, leaving Torres trapped inside of the luggage. This is some of that video.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Real or ransom. Might want to give me for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Real or ransom.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's what I feel like when you cheat on me.
So she's taunting him on the couch while he's in a suitcase, and she's filming all of this. And then eventually she leaves the room, falls asleep somewhere, and he dies in the suitcase. Yeah. During the trial, the state also presented an edited version of Boone's 2020 interrogation. In this recording, Boone initially told police that Torres' death was the result of a drunken game of hide-and-seek gone wrong. She claimed the couple had been drinking heavily and that she thought Torres was simply hiding in the suitcase for fun. However, the video footage and text messages from Boone's phone paint kind of a dark picture. Prosecutors highlighted several text messages Boone sent in the months leading up to Torres' death, which referenced their turbulent relationship and alluded to hide-and-seek games. Investigators also pointed to the disturbing nature of the video on Boone that Boone filmed, where Torres' frantic pleas for help were met with Boone's laughter. Adding to the evidence, a forensic pathologist testified that the injuries found in Torres' body, the testimony revealed that Torres had multiple bruises, scratches, and signs of swelling, suggesting he suffered physical trauma in addition to being trapped in the suitcase. James Owens, Boone's ninth attorney, has filed a defense strategy based on battered spouse syndrome, pointing to the volatile and abusive nature of Boone and Torres' relationship. Owens is expected to argue that Boone's actions were a result of years of domestic abuse and arrests involving both parties. Owens took on Boone's case after 8 other attorneys withdrew due to Boone's behavior, which had previously led a judge to ruling that she had forfeited her right to legal representation. I don't know how you really do that, but that's what he did. And then Boone was going to have to represent herself in court. And she made that nice little poster with markers, and that was published, and she found an attorney. I'm not even joking. Boone herself had been, very vocal in court, even writing letters to the judge. And, of course, an advertising for the lawyer, which ultimately drew Owens to the case. As the trial is going to continue, defense is going to focus on domestic abuse. They'll complete with the chilling evidence presented by the prosecution. The outcome is very likely going to hinge here on whether the jury believes Boone's claims that it was an accident or accepts the prosecution's argument that this was a calculated act of cruelty.
She seems really, as you're listening to this recording of us, because we're not live, we never pretend to be live here, she will have taken the stand. And I've heard some of her testimony. I understand being in a shitty relationship, been there before. You try to make excuses for things, but you don't have to be malicious. You can just leave. And that's easier said than done. I know a lot of people are in situations where it's harder to get out. You and I have both been there. It's easier to just figure out a way out.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it is. Murdering someone is never going to be the right answer.
It's not. And, you could have done it. Maybe 30 years ago, it was easier to murder somebody. Now you've got... am I telling the truth or not?
You're taking it to a really weird perspective, but you're right. Nothing you're saying is wrong, but it's usually not, I didn't expect the story to go that direction. on the convenience of murder.
I'm all about different perspectives. And if you were a twisted individual and your way out is to murder somebody, you missed your time slot, because now we've got cell phones that track you. And even if you delete your messages, they can still find them. We've got DNA evidence. There are so many things that track you that I'm surprised anybody murders anybody at this point. Because guess what, bitch? You're going to get caught.
Well, thank God for narcissists, because they think they can do anything they want. And that's usually what we see in a lot of murderers. It tends to kind of run. Although you do have some where it's these crimes of passion where you find out something very dramatic or traumatic, and you kind of snap. And if you have a weapon on you or access to one, that's not usually a good thing in those sort of situations. Take, for example, that story of the sheriff who shot the judge recently. We still, at this moment in time, don't know exactly what information he found out, but the defense is saying it was something very dramatic, and it was an emotional reaction. So they're looking to ask the judge to consider this to be a manslaughter case rather than a murder case. So yeah, I mean, it comes in all shapes and forms. In this case, though, of Sarah Boone, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I think she's very mentally ill is probably the wrong word, because that would imply that there's an illness. I think she has a personality disorder is what I think she has. So,
and I think that's a safe assumption with any case that we cover. Anything that gets to this point that is so sensationalized and public and gigantic that we would talk about it. Yeah. These aren't people who just snapped one day. There's an escalation here. There's a disorder of some sort, because people just who can cross that line, there's something not right with you. Unless it's, I'm defending myself. Someone's coming at me and I decide to stab them 98 times.
Yeah.
okay, we
Well,
might
different.
cover that story, but you know,
But something like this, I mean, she has a pattern of life and the way she's lived it, and it's been, basically, it's my opinion, it's been at the mercy of the disorder, because she seems like a fairly reckless human being. And the whatever she has, it's probably some sort of antisocial personality disorder, whether it's narcissism or what have you. I mean, it could be many of things. Histrionic. Kind of a lot of times you have little pieces of everything, or certain areas. But she does seem somewhat sociopathic too. But I don't know. I'm not here to diagnose the woman, but there's something not right, and this is where it took her in this case. She clearly has a real hard time understanding responsibility for her actions, or that there should be any cause or effect. It seems she's pretty much in her own world, and I think she thinks she does. I think she thinks she sees those things, and it's basically everyone else is wrong and she's right. Why don't more people see things the way she sees them? The world would be a better place if that's probably how she thinks. And
I have a question for you once you're done with this thought.
Yeah. And I just think you have all of that type of thinking in here. And if you can kind of grasp that for a moment and put yourself in her shoes, it's not that crazy that she locked him in the suitcase and then wandered away and fell asleep. I don't know that it was truly she was trying to kill him. I don't think she was, but she's an idiot. And I think she probably had a certain level of indifference if he did die. And I don't know if it was even running through her head, but if it was, there's probably a level of indifference there, almost a very childish level of indifference. On the stand today, she was talking like a child. Her tone, her candor, everything was very different than anything we've heard out of her in the past. It sounded like a different person. So, I mean, it tells me, these type of people, they mold themselves to whatever they need to survive. And they get very manipulative and very crazy. And I just think we're seeing it continue to carry out. She doesn't take any responsibility for any of this. She doesn't take any responsibility for her 9 different attorneys, none of them being good enough. She wanted snacks in the courtroom. It was like literally a point of contention with the judge in the pretrial hearing. She wanted a bag of chips, cookies, 5 mints, and a Pop-Tart or something like that. It was like a fucking rider. And the judge is like, no, we're not doing that. Just the fact that she had the audacity to think that this is an okay thing to bring up at your murder trial. There's such a disconnect from reality and the understanding of how you are being perceived. There is no self-awareness there at all. I take that back. There is self-awareness, but her self-awareness is not grounded in reality.
No, it's not. And it's self-serving. Yep. It's not, she has no empathy because, and my question to you, and I'll get back to this, was I want to know the craziest thing you've ever done when you're drunk. Like the next morning, you're like, shit. But if you're an empathetic person, I'm not sure you could allow somebody to suffer. Yeah. Even if you are drunk, you still have this core ability about you to go, oh, okay, all right, I'm going to let you out.
Yeah.
Not, fuck it, you stay in there. Yeah. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I remember one time in college, it was my 21st birthday, which I just pretty much told how old I am. But I remember being so shit-faced drunk that I saw a pine tree and I thought it was Santa Claus. Because it was decorated for Christmas because I'm a December birthday. And I went up to hug Santa. I have a thing for hugging Santas.
Okay.
Another time I was drunk at a Christmas party at our radio station. I went up and hugged an animatronic Santa as well. But I went up and like ran at this pine tree to hug it. And I ended up with pine needles in my skin. Yeah. Like, had to pick them out like porcupine quills.
Oh my God.
And then I had an allergic reaction to them the next morning and had hives all over where they had been inserted, basically. And I was just fucking miserable. I had the hangover. I was broken out in hives. I was puking. I mean, it was just like, okay, we're not doing that shit again.
Sounds like a Christmas miracle.
Doesn't it?
God, that sounds horrible.
But I didn't kill anybody. I
No.
mean, I could have freaking killed myself. But, it wasn't anything malicious or crazy. It was just, I need to hug Santa.
Sure. Yeah.
But we all know people who, when they get drunk, oh my God, look out. They're vicious and horrible. And I had a mother-in-law, my first mother-in-law, who was just a fucking horrible drunk. And she was drunk the morning or the afternoon that we were getting ready to go to prom. And she completely ruined our prom pictures, just being an angry drunk. And that's what she was.
Yeah.
So, I feel like their real self comes out when the inhibitions are lowered. And I think alcohol does that. I could be completely wrong. I'm not a doctor, but I just think you start to see what people are really like when alcohol takes down those walls.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I end up getting more like generous and lovey and just like, I don't know. I'm very chill.
I love you, man.
Yeah. I'm just very, but I'm trying to think of any stories.
What, you weren't hugging Santa and his elves?
I got one. I remember that, where it was like somebody's birthday. I was in Wichita, Kansas, and it was one of our radio people's birthday at a party at their apartment. And got late, and I lived on the other side of town. We were all drinking, and he said, hey, you can sleep in the guest bedroom here. So, okay, cool. Thank you. So, went to sleep in there, woke up at, 3 or 4 in the morning, and was confused as shit as to where I was. And I get my flashlight out on my phone, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, where am I? And I'm looking around the wall. And one of the weirdest things to see is Michael Jackson's signature.
What?
I'm like, what the hell is this? And I moved it around more, and I see, it's a picture. And then his signature was on the thing. My friend had actually been one of the kids that was in the Super Bowl where Michael Jackson performed on. There's all the kids on the field with him.
Yes.
And he was one of those kids. So he got this signed piece. But it was weird as fuck to like be confused as shit. And you're like just looking around the wall or whatever with your flashlight, and you see Michael Jackson's signature. Like, what the fuck? Where am I, in Neverland? And then I'm like, and I got up and I turned all the light on in the room. And I'm like, I'm like, oh God. And I just felt really stupid because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, that would sober me up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, my worst one I think ever was actually when I was because it could have been dangerous. I was 18. Yeah, I was in Wausau, and we had been drinking at our boss's house up on the hill over there. And you weren't there, but I was there, and then I lived in town, and I was going to walk to the radio station from the house. So I attempted that, and I ended up sitting down at, I don't remember the intersection. It was something, and is there a road there named Stark?
Yep.
Like 21st and Stark or something.
Yep.
Yeah. It was something like that. And that's where I was calling. I called Allie at the time, who was on the air at night. And I didn't know where the hell I was. So I pulled up my, like Nokia cell phone. And where are you? I'm like at 21st and Stark. So she comes and gets me. And I fell asleep on the lawn. And get back to the radio station. We open the door to the van, and I literally fall out. And I hit my head on the ground, and I have like a scar, and I probably had a concussion. I don't know, but she made sure I didn't die. But that would be the dumbest one I have. Yeah, I was about 18 at the time.
Yeah, that works. And I think 21 is a really good age for drinking to make it legal. But I honestly think maybe 25 would be adequate because, God, we're so dumb at that point.
I just feel like any age is just not the greatest of ideas. But it's so part of the culture. I mean, I drink, but it's there's so many. Here's my prediction. It's going to cut back, I think, dramatically in the next generation or two. I think I think you're going to see a good chunk of it cut back. Maybe not quite as much as cigarettes, but I think you're going to see a big cutback because there are so many new alternatives that are coming out that, in my opinion, are just as good. And I've tried several of them where it's THC infused drinks. Some have like some mushroom type infused drinks. They are completely legal as of right now in most states. I think if you're an adult, I don't know if there's an age on it or not, but I have been actually drinking THC infused drinks for the last month. I haven't had any alcohol in about a month. And when I have that to relax or whatever instead, feels about the same, and there's no hangover, and you feel good. You feel more aware. And there's so many of these things now. It's crazy, and I think your newer generations are going to gravitate to that when they see and can compare and contrast hangovers versus not.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that when I used to work at a vet clinic, we would see the canine officers come in, and the new batch. Now, granted, I've been out of the industry now for 2 years, but the new batch of dogs coming in, they are not trained on marijuana detection.
No.
So what does that tell you?
They don't have the time for it and don't need it. They're not going
to be enforcing it in the future.
No.
There's other things these dogs have been trained for that they are spending their time and efforts on.
Well, it was stupid to ever have to go after that one, but that's the new place we're living in. So I think it'll affect alcohol consumption. It'll take some generations, but I think we're going to see a big change there. And I don't think the alcohol industry wants it, but that's where it's like, well, get in the game. There's, have you seen the amount of non-alcoholic beers there are now?
Oh yeah.
And
actually where I am, we have a non-alcoholic bar.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that go there. They just want to sit,
they want
have
the
a
social
beverage and chat.
Yeah. They want the social aspect of it. You're going to see a lot of that. I think it's going to be a very new world in all of that. And maybe we'll have less situations like this with the Sarah Boones of the world. Who knows? Could be a better place.
You're in the thick of a true crime saga, every detail sinking in, and then, wham, a commercial about something you couldn't care less about. It's like being served a microwaved dinner at a 5-star restaurant. But it doesn't have to be this way. Go for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. With True Crime Today Premium Plus, you get uninterrupted, ad-free episodes, extended interviews that dig even deeper into the muck, and early access so you can brag to your friends. It's like ordering the secret menu at a crime buffet. So, search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and savor every twisted detail without interruption.